You want to really impact lives, impact lives. There's no barrier. It's easier than it has ever been in history to impact lives. And you can do it with text, you can record and make it a podcast, you can do video. You're one button away. Get busy.
I think you gotta have a dream.
The School of Greatness.
Really? Yeah.
Please welcome Lewis House.
We're talking about how to monetize your side hustle, how to turn a side hustle into something much greater than a side hustle, hopefully. And there are a lot of people listening or watching who have the dream or the goal to turn a skill set into something that could be financial success, even if it's a few $100s a month and eventually thousands of dollars a month, or potentially millions from building their personal brand around their side hustle as well.
Yeah.
So once you figure out what your side hustle is,
Yeah.
and you say, well, I don't have that big of a following. I don't have anyone following me on Instagram or social media. I don't have a lot of money to buy traffic, paid media. How do I get leads and sales without being this begging, sleazy, salesy person?
Oh, man.
Needy, please buy from me. How do we start the process of monetizing our side hustle?
Dude, this is such that's such a good question, because that's the thing, right? It's like, we want to make money, we want to help people. We don't want to be the desperate salesperson.
Please buy my thing out of pity.
Yeah, we don't want to be the needy guy, and and this is something that I've spent my whole life doing. I went door to door. So I worked in retail sales when I was from the time I was 16 years old, and then I spent 5 years going door to door, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, interrupting people.
14 hours a day, door to door.
14 hours a day, door to door. Interrupting people and pretty intrusive. As I sometimes say, that being a door-to-door salesperson is like being the human version of email spam.
Right. Like, telemarketer.
Yeah, or telemarketer. Yeah, it's like telemarketers are, than us. We bug telemarketers when they're eating dinner. And then, we built a sales coaching company to 8 figures, teaching salespeople how to sell. How do you generate leads? And then brand builders, we do more like marketing and digital lead generation. But whether you're like a Fortune 100 company, a personal brand, a professional service, or just a person with a dream for a side hustle, this is the question. How do you make that first sale? Like, how do you get money? Where do you find the people?
And before you answer that,
okay,
what was the greatest lesson you learned going door to door for 5 years? About yourself and about selling in general.
There was this thing that we used to say all the time, that the answer's behind the next door.
You never stop. There's always another door.
Yeah,
you just you'll find the answer in the next place.
Yeah, it was always like, but that part of it, I think actually is good, because this is true about sale. I mean, a part of the good news for both marketing and sales is that they are both a numbers game. They are a numbers game. It's not like it won't work, right? Like, you have the fear, like, is anyone going to buy this? No, somebody will buy, no matter how bad you are or how crappy your thing is. If you talk to enough people, which is not what the goal is, but that people will, they really will buy if you keep going. The truth about most sales is people think of it as like combat, like, I either have to put the magic marketing words on the page, or I need to say like the voodoo mind trick to like convince you to buy something, and then it's kind of like this battle, and it's more like an Easter egg hunt, where it's like there is some number of eggs out there in the field that have candy in them, and no matter if you did anything or not to deserve candy being in there, they're just there. You just have to go find them. And there's a lot of empty eggs along the way. There's a lot that you're going to open and it's empty, and so that is one part of it. But the biggest problem, the biggest problem that people have in selling is that they're self-centered. The reason we don't sell more is because we're focused on, how do I make money? How do I convince people? And we approach it wrong. And I would say that sales has been taught wrong, done wrong, promoted wrong. I mean, we're big fans of cleaning this up and changing
Yeah.
the way that people think
I think
about
we're
it.
also self-centered in the fact that we're afraid of people saying no and how it will make us feel about ourselves
Yes.
when they say no.
Absolutely, yeah. When I say self-centered, part of that is kind of like I don't necessarily mean selfish, like I'm going to take in for me instead of you, although there's a part of that where it's like, the sale is convincing people to buy something they don't want, right?
Right.
That's not what we're into.
Right.
But it's also, fear is self-centered. Fear is extremely self-centered.
Oh, man.
You only feel fear when you're thinking about yourself. We say there is no fear when the mission to serve is clear. When you're focused on helping someone else, you're not worried about it, right? I mean, it's like if there's a car accident and someone's on the side of the road, you run up to them, you're not thinking about how does your hair look and or your clothes or your
Right.
is your outfit cute. You're going to help somebody. We're always at our best when we're serving others.
Yes.
And one of the magical powers of service is that being focused on service releases our insecurities.
So true. This is something I learned speaking on stages. I said there's probably different levels to my speaking life. There's the 13 years ago being terrified to speak in front of 3 people without stuttering and sweating and being nervous. And me saying, okay, I need to go learn how to get some reps speaking in front of people so I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
So I joined Toastmasters, which you famously got second in the world for.
I love how you
Toastmasters.
famously bring that up every time we talk about second place in the world.
Second place at the World Championship of Public Speaking.
True story.
No big deal. And I did that for a year, and I gained confidence through the actions of repetition, of showing up, of preparing, of reviewing my speaking film, and just improving through reps over time.
Yeah.
And I remember for about 7-8 years, I was getting now paid to speak for my credibility, for my expertise through LinkedIn and everything else. And I would still get nervous for a week before a big speech. Then I got better over time, and it was like, okay, it's only 2 days before I'm nervous. Then it was a day before. And I remember it stayed a day before, but it wasn't nerves of excitement, it was nerves of insecurity.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm afraid of what people are gonna think about me. And I remember asking a coach of mine that I had hired for a while, it was a good friend of mine, and I said, I'm about to go on stage in an hour, I don't know why I'm still so nervous. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years, shouldn't I be over this by now? And he said, because you're focused on the way you look, not on serving other people in the audience.
Yeah.
And the moment, exactly what you said, the moment you start focusing on service, knowing that you will probably forget something, you might make a mistake, and not worrying about those things, know that something might happen that's not perfect, but when your heart's on service, it's hard to be nervous, as you say. Isn't that something you said?
Yeah, years ago on our
Yes,
very first
yes,
interview together.
yes.
But that's it. And so somebody watching right now, it could be like, okay, well, like, how to make the money?
Yes.
Like, how do I get the lead?
Yeah.
But this is how you get the lead, is you serve first. So in a digital world,
Yes.
you provide value first.
Value.
Value. Give out. It's the 3 E's, right?
Yes.
You're putting out content that is either educational, encouraging, or entertaining. And typically some mix of all 3. Educational, encouraging, or entertaining. And the digital marketing strategy that we employ at Brand Builders Group for Rory Vaden Personal Brand and for all of the clients that we work with, that we teach these personal brands, is teach everything you know for free, 1 bite at a time, but in all random order, right?
So it's not packaged in the right order as you would have in a book or a course or a workshop or an event.
Right, we've said this before. People don't pay for information. They pay for organization and application.
Yes.
And we have a thing called the services spectrum, which basically says, information is down here, it's free. Organization is here in the middle. You can charge a little bit, like in a course or a book or like a membership site, but application is up here at the top, which is like a coaching program or consulting, like done for your services application. information is social media, podcasting, blogs,
YouTube videos.
YouTube.
Yeah.
People don't pay for information. But you're just giving them bite-sized chunks of information. You're teaching everything you know, but not all at once and in the right sequential order. People pay for the right order. That's organization. I mean, we tell, one of the reasons people hire us at Brand Builders Group is because we have a very set curriculum, the Brand Builder Journey, and we say, look, one of the biggest problems with personal brands is that people do the right thing, but in the wrong order. They're like launching Facebook ads the first month, and it's like, that's step 76. You're like, you skipped all of this.
They don't have a funnel yet, so they're launching it to nothing.
Yeah, you're driving it back to nothing.
Yeah.
You're spending all this time on social media driving back to nothing. So the first thing is find your uniqueness, figure out what you're good at, then extrapolate that into a product, create your service, your product offer. You may already have that. And then after that, it's like, okay, how do I drive traffic? If we're and there's two worlds here. When I think of marketing and sales, I think of the online world and the offline world. And we've done both, which is rare. Most of the people have done one or the other. And it's like I've done the door-to-door thing. I worked for a startup IT company doing inside corporate B2B phone sales. Then when we started our former company, we did phone sales like B2B for like small businesses, and we did free presentations and we sold. But the fastest mechanism to generating a lead is to do a free presentation demonstrating your value, your expertise. It's giving people a sample and then offering them the next step.
Yes.
Here's what it is. It is the food court. When you go to the food court...
Want some orange chicken.
And the orange chicken on a stick.
Man, tastes good. I want the whole thing now.
It's a sample, and if you want more, I'm right here.
C's Candy gets me every time. Get you a free piece of candy, just go into the store, and you're like, ooh, I want the whole box.
Yeah. I mean, it's... And
it's a free presentation. You could do this through many different mechanisms. It used to be free workshops in person.
And by the way, like, when I say
events.
this is what everybody does, like, this is what Jim Rohn did, and Tony Robbins, and Brian Tracy, and Tom Hopkins, and like everybody in the personal development industry, they used to go do, this is how we built our former company.
This is what people in real estate industries do.
They do it.
They teach at a free seminar.
Free seminar.
A 90-minute live free training.
Financial advisors do this.
Yes.
Come to my free dinner presentation on 10 keys to retirement. Why? Because it works.
Yes.
Like, you're giving value and you're leveraging the law of reciprocity, right? As I give to you before instead of ask, the way you make sales is by giving so much that at some point they like ask you to buy versus showing up and asking all the time. In fact, we use a rule called, we call it the rule of 10. And this is this is more of like a pricing thing. But people get really weird around price and asking for the money, and when it comes to collecting a credit card, and or if you're on like a webinar or a Facebook Live, or if it doesn't matter if it's Facebook Live, it's a webinar, it's a video funnel, or it's standing on stage, or it's talking to one person. You got to be convicted in the value you're bringing, and the way you do that is by over-delivering. The number one way to drive your own conviction is over-delivering. And everyone teaches sales as like, the voodoo mind tricks on the person you're talking to. The real game is the mind is winning the battle in your own mind and being convinced that what you have is valuable. And the rule of 10 helps you do that. So basically, when people are putting together their first offer, they tend to like swing for the fences and go, well, I'm going to charge for a $2,000 video course or something. And they say, well, I saw a video and my coach told me charge what you're worth. That's terrible advice. Don't charge what you're worth.
What should we charge?
When you're starting out, don't charge what you're worth. Charge what you can get. Charge what you're convicted on. Charge what you can massively over-deliver upon.
Yeah.
If I'm charging what I'm worth, there's going to be a bit of reluctance when I deliver the price. They're going to feel it, and it's going to massively reduce the percentage conversion.
Yeah, someone once told me charge what 10x the value.
Yeah, that's the rule of 10.
Right?
So
it's like if it's
charge 1/10 of what it's worth.
Exactly. If it's $10,000 worth of value, then charge 1,000. Right?
That's right.
And if it's $1,000 worth of value, charge 100. If it's 100, charge 10.
So you always have if it were a bank account, you always have this like credit, this balance with people, and you go, and it starts for free. It starts on social media, which is amazing. Like
Yes.
the power that social media gives us, it's not that you have to reach millions of people. It gives us a mechanism to push a button and deliver value.
Yes.
Because it's like people go, it's like a chicken or the egg. How do I build an audience? I want to provide value, but I don't have an audience. No, you provide value first. If nobody is watching, you record and you teach value, you deliver it, and people will engage with that. Now we have a process, which I'm happy to talk about, of converting comments into customers. So, I don't know if you want to take this more like online or if you want to do like more offline.
I think online's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So, it starts with the mind. Okay. Self-centeredness is the problem. Service-centeredness is the solution.
Yes.
You never feel fear when the mission to serve is clear. You get your mind right. Then you go, okay, I'm going to go out and provide value. So you start pumping out value. We have a thing called the content diamond, which I know I've talked about on other episodes. We can touch on that. But anyways, you're putting out value. And now what happens is people like and comment. And what most of us do is we go, 6 views.
Right.
And it's just like, and we get self-centered again. And we go, I only have 6 views. Jay Shetty gets like 6 billion views. And I'm like, and it just makes me feel awful because I'm thinking about myself. And there's like a comment. And then you're like, I don't have and then what we do are like, I don't have time to deal with these comments. Or someone sends you a DM and you're like, I don't have time to deal with these DMs. And you're missing it. Comments and DMs are where the sale happened on social media.
Right.
Like the dollars are in the DMs.
Ooh.
The dollars are in the DMs because when somebody leaves a comment,
They're saying, hey, I'm interested.
I'm interested.
I want to know more.
I like you.
Whether they're not saying I want to know more or not, they want to connect.
They want to connect.
They're coming to your door. They're knocking on your door. You got to open it.
Bingo. Yeah, that's a great way of thinking it.
You're not going to their door. They've come to you.
They have come to yours. And if you're too busy to interact with those people, don't be on social, period.
Right.
Unless you're just doing the thing where you're going to do it for years and years and years, and one day you'll have more audience. But even it's like, if you want to really impact lives. Like that's what pisses me off is people are like, I want to impact lives, and it's like, great, okay, let's put a video out there. Well, I don't have any followers. Well, I don't care. Like, I'm not getting paid to do it.
Focus on one at a time.
One person. You said you wanted to impact lives. Impact lives. There's no barrier to impacting lives. There's no barrier. It's easier than it has ever been in history to impact lives. You can do it with text. You can record and make it a podcast. You can do video. But you are a button from impacting. I want to change the world. Great. You're one button away. Get busy. Right? The truth is, we want to have millions of followers. We want to feel important. We want other people to respect us. And you go, let all that crap go. Just focus on what you originally said. Impact lives. And then, so we use a little formula here when someone comments. Usually we will try to move the conversation from comments into DMs. If it's a sales conversation, if it's just chatter, we'll do it in comments. But when you go, I want to convert comments into customers, you do that in the DMs. So you move them over to your DMs.
Send me a DM or you message them.
You message them and then you comment. You say, hey, I just, thanks for this. I just sent you a DM. Now you might comment back on their comment related to what their comment was. And then you say, by the way, I sent you, check your DMs. I sent you a message. Okay. And then here's, we call this the 4 Fs. Super, super simple.
Yep.
Okay. So here's the 4 Fs. The first F is, how did you find me? And that's it. I just say, oh, Lewis, yeah, man, thanks for leaving a comment. How'd you find me? And they're going to say something, right? They're going to say, whatever, I saw you, or I don't know, I stumbled across it organically, or a hashtag I was following, or whatever, right? And it's like, cool.
Right.
Then the second F.
The School of Greatness.
Yeah, a lot of people find you if you get on the School of Greatness, that's for sure. And I'll say, what was your favorite part? Right? So, what was your favorite part of that video? So wherever they found you, I read your book, I saw this video, I read your blog, I saw you in an interview, I saw you speak somewhere, I saw your ad. If it's an ad, it's probably not the favorite part thing doesn't work. But usually, well, we said you're not running ads yet because you're just starting out.
Yeah.
So you just said, what was your favorite part? or what's the favorite thing you've seen me teach, or what's the favorite thing to talk about, or even if you don't have that, you could say, what's your favorite thing to learn about? Mm-hmm. Which leads to the third F, which is tell me about your future. Tell me about your future. So in other words, what are your goals? Mm-hmm. What are you working on? Like, before you try to sell somebody something, figure out what they care about.
Yes.
Spend time learning about them. Ask them, and this is what's so cool. And if there's one defining point about our sales philosophy, and I would say specifically AJ, so my wife, she's our CEO at Brand Builders Group. Her and I were business partners in our former venture. And she is the greatest salesperson that I've ever seen. And I mean, she outperformed 3-1 record-breaking salespeople in 100-year companies. And her and I have a defining philosophy about sales that has caused us to separate from other people and constructs, because we believe that you should always win the relationship, even if you lose the sale.
That's good.
You should always win the relationship, even if you lose the sale. And if you focus on making sales, you're going to feel pressure. If you focus on building relationships, man, it's going to be great. Here's the other thing. If you focus on making sales, there's wins and losses. If you focus on building relationships, there's only wins.
Yeah, the interesting point to that, the longer you've been adding value, whether it be online or offline or whatever, just in the world, without needing to win the sale, the longer you'll have the ability to have someone buy something from you later in your life.
Yeah,
I've had multiple people on webinars when I'll say, how long have you known me for? I'll just ask people, how long have you known me for? And when did you first find out about me? And people will say, I watched your webinars back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, whatever it is.
Awesome.
And I'll always get a comment of someone saying, I've never bought anything until now. Like, I've always just been a fan. I've always gotten great value. I've always learned and applied it, but I've never bought anything until now, until it was the right time for me. It was the right season, until I was ready for this, or until something you said clicked with me and I finally was like, okay, yeah, now I'll buy. But if I was just like, leave my life if you're not going to buy something now, as opposed to saying, I'm here to add value. I want you to succeed whether you buy or not. But we can support you in this process from our application, from our service, whatever it may be, from our program. Yeah. We can support you if you're ready for it. And if not, then hey, we've got other great free content here for you as well. I think when you have that mindset, you win long term. You
win. I mean, you're such a great example of that, and you have to be that. And people don't. They it's just a win lose. It's a combative. Most people do combative selling, and it should be collaborative. It should be, you're discovering them. And this question, tell me about your future. What like your future goals, your future plans, your future dreams. What's so cool about that question is almost nobody ever asks you that question.
Very few.
Even when you meet a stranger, we always ask them, where are you from?
What do you do?
Tell me about your past. What do you do? We ask them about their past and their present. Almost nobody ever asks us, what's your hopes for your future?
Yeah.
What are you working on? What's your dream?
Yeah.
That's so inspiring, exciting, uplifting. And by the way, it's a great way to create a context for a sale to happen.
Absolutely.
Because if they say something, gosh, I really want a blank. If their answer to that question is something that you have done, or you have a service for, or you know something about, right? Like when somebody tells me I want to be a speaker, I want to be an author, I'm like, oh my gosh, can I change your life? I mean, I spent my life learning exactly a roadmap that you can follow, like a step-by-step for that dream to come true. And
one of the things to add to that is if you can't sell them something, if they can't buy something from you or become a customer of yours through your products and services, I always try to ask people this question, like, what's your goal, what's your dream for this next 12 months or the next year, whatever. And if I can't help them in any way through my business, I always want to become the champion of an introduction to them who could help them.
Amen.
And that could be an affiliate partner or not. It could be, well, I don't do this, but Rory's team does this extremely well. Let me connect you and he can accelerate this goal for you. But I've had that champion introduction mindset of like, let me just introduce you to the person who I know can help you. And that always pays dividends in the future as well. You may not get the sale, you may not sell them something, but you help them accomplish their goal, and they'll always be grateful.
And they trust you. And
Yeah.
and more and more, this is interesting, even if you don't have a product to sell, you can earn referral fees.
Absolutely.
I mean, any of us can go to Amazon and sign up for a link to like have
Yeah.
affiliate links for everything. And lots of people have, I mean, our whole business runs on referrals.
Mm-hmm.
We actually pay our clients to, if they introduce us to somebody and they sign up, we pay them.
Right.
And that's becoming really, really common. That's actually a great tool. Referral partner marketing, if it's not slimy, like you don't want it to be slimy. Again, another thing that's kind of similar in this vein is never compromise long-term reputation for short-term revenue. Don't compromise
Right.
long-term reputation for short-term revenue.
Yes.
Just because I can increase my conversion rates by adding a widget that makes it look like there's a million people commenting even though there's not actually anybody there, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm saying you should think about that. You should make a decision consciously to go play the long game.
Yes.
Just play the long game, like you're saying. Even if you don't, I mean, we refer people to stuff that we don't have referral partners for all the time.
Right.
How can I help? And this is, this is the problem is people go, how can I make money? Don't ask how can I make money. Ask how can I help?
Yes.
I'm telling you, if you ask how can I help, you'll make a lot more money. If you ask how can I make money, you may end up doing some things that are compromised. It's not that money's bad. I mean, we love money. Like, money is good. We're fans of money. We want lots of money. We're good at making money. We're good at making other people lots of money. We enjoy money. But money is not the goal. The mission is the goal. Service is the goal. Helping the person is the goal. And you make money as a byproduct
Yes.
of that. It's solving a problem in the world.
Yes. And that's the third F.
Oh,
Tell me
yeah.
about
So-
your future goals.
Okay, great. Yeah,
And
so
the
then fourth F is where the close happens, the conversion, the sale, is a free call to action. So free call to action, which is like, what's your next free step? The next free step is request a call.
Yeah.
The next free step is check out this full-length training I did. The next free step is subscribe to my blog. What is the next free step? We always want to give them a free step, a free download, a free training, a free call. And then eventually you'll after that you make an offer. But whatever that free step is, typically it's going to be a free call or it's going to be a free training. So a
webinar, a training,
a webinar, or just an online
demo.
Yeah, a demo. Like we do a lot of evergreen type stuff where it's just like, there's just this video out here. Check it out. It's a hidden video.
Right.
Here's a link to it, and they watch an hour ish. Could be more, could be less, but let's call it an hour. And what do we do on that hour? We drop massive value bombs on them. We're delivering value. We're teaching. Teach as much as you can for free in the time you have, and then they're going to want to take the next step if you do a good job.
Right.
Now, the timing matters too. Some people say no because of timing. We actually had an event recently. There was a woman that was there. We actually this came up as a topic of conversation, and we asked them. We said, "Okay, who's been following me for a really long time, and this is the first time you bought?" And it was like a woman that was 5.5 years. And then we asked, okay, who is here in this event that just found out about Brand Builders Group like recently? And there was a woman that was like, I heard you 5 days ago on a podcast, requested a call,
I'm here.
and now I'm here.
Wow.
And it was such a great testimony of that when we don't make sales, again, a lot of times we are self-centered. We process it as I did something wrong. A huge part of whether or not they buy is the timing for them. It's not about you screwing up. Like your job is give value, teach, and then make an offer, which we can talk about the mechanics of this all the way down to collecting the credit card. Like I'm very comfortable talking about the nitty-gritty of the sale, and you should be able to do that without pressure. We call it pressure-free persuasion. The pressure-free persuasion method is, but just look how you're setting this up. If you're delivering value, you're teaching, you're helping, you're solving problems, there's so much less pressure
Yes.
when the time comes to ask for money, because it's like, I'm just here to help, I'm here to serve, and I've got this great balance built up with this person of trust, because they're like, wow, you're awesome. Like, you know, I've watched 1,000 episodes of the School of Greatness podcast and never had to buy anything.
Right. And what if someone's not selling something that requires a call or a demo? What if it's a physical product or a lower price point of a course when maybe they wouldn't do a call?
Yeah, okay, so great. So these are where you get in the different mechanics of selling, which is like there's a one-on-one sales conversation. We spend a lot of time with that. Then there is one-to-many sales presentations, selling on a webinar or in a video funnel or on a live stage. We've done a lot of that. And then there is 0-to-1 selling, which is you're not even there, and they're on a sales page. So usually if you're trying to sell a widget and it's fairly low priced, usually
You're not doing a one-on-one call.
you're not doing a one-on-one call.
If you're trying to sell merchandise or a hat,
Yeah,
or
a hat or a
clothes
t-shirt. Yeah, I mean, that a lot of times, merchandise stuff.
artwork or something,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is creativity and how
Yeah.
cool it is, but selling through the written word is a skill to learn. We've got a whole formula for this. We call it the 15 Ps, which is it's basically you have to understand the psychology of the decision-making process, that in the absence of a dialogue through a conversation, I have to guide people through some steps.
process, yeah.
And the biggest thing to know, it's basically copywriting would be the word for this. When you are doing copywriting, there's a few main things to focus on. Okay? What most people do is they focus on the features of their thing. It is this size. There are this many units. They're telling them about the thing. Sales is never about the thing. Sales is about what the thing does for the person, what the thing allows the person to achieve, what we call the promise and the payoffs. You think about it like this. There is, if we're going on a trip, there is the vehicle that we are in, and then there is the destination we are going to. Copywriting specifically, and sales, but specifically copywriting, the words that we use should be more about describing the destination than the vehicle.
Interesting.
Okay, so the vehicle is how I get there. Brand builders, we've got a curriculum that is a 4-phase process, and there's 12 courses that we move people through, right? And it's like, nobody really cares about that. If we're working with them, it's because they want to grow their brand. They want to get more speaking gigs. They want to get book deals. They want to grow their social media following. They want to build their email list. They want to make passive income, right? Those are destinations. So the more you talk about the destinations and the less about the vehicles, the more likely there is to sales they are to buy. So you want to talk about what we call the promise and the payoffs, which are the destination. The other thing that you want to talk about in your writing, if you're selling through the written word, i.e. copywriting, whenever you're writing a feature for the purpose of persuasion, in addition to promise and payoff, you also want to describe the problems and the pain, which is basically like if you have the vehicle and the destination, the problems and the pain are staying stuck where they're at now, which again is not about the vehicle. The vehicle is your widget. The vehicle is your thing, your service, your program, the way that you do taxes or the way that you do health or like whatever your company. Everyone talks about their thing. Sales isn't talking about your thing. It's talking about their payoffs and then their problem and pain. And people really struggle when it comes to writing problem and pain. And it's super simple. Here's how you write great pain language. Describe their life as it exists, a day in their life as it exists now in the absence of your solution. All right, so let's use personal brand since that's like what we do, right? I would say, payoffs, promise and payoffs. You want to get,
a book deal,
grow your following, book deal, online, passive income.
Speak on stage.
But every day you're frustrated because you're consumed spending hours on social media and no one is listening. You are frustrated trying to write email copy and to find the words to describe what you do so that people will buy. You are overwhelmed at all the different technology pieces you have to integrate together. You are concerned that your brand isn't unique from other people's brands in the marketplace and that no one's going to notice your stuff. You don't understand how to drive traffic to your website in a predictable way, right? And it's called pain because to the person that you are built to serve, when they hear it, they go, oh gosh, yes, oh, that's me. You get it, you get me. Like that is what I want. This is what I'm struggling with. And the more you can do that, here's what's amazing. The more accurately and viscerally you are in your ability to articulate the problem and pain, the more naturally and likely they are to trust you that you have the solution. Not because you have the perfect widget, but because you proved that you understand their pain. And if you understand their pain so well, we automatically assume you must also understand the way out.
Right.
Which in many cases is true.
Yes.
The more adept someone is at empathizing and understanding and articulating and expressing the frustrations that you are dealing with, it is likely because they have been there themselves, they've worked with a lot of people who have been there, and they have absolute clarity about what it takes to get out of that situation to get over here. But all of marketing, sales, getting people to buy is actually pretty simple. Where do you want to go? Where are you now? That gap is the sale.
Yes.
If I can get them to tell me where they want to go and the frustration they're experiencing now and trying to get there, they sell themselves.
And in the 4F process, you're getting them to already share where they want to go. You're
Bingo.
already getting some of the data, the information. And then in the free call, you can start to ask them questions, I'm assuming, of what's keeping you from being there? What's the biggest challenge you're faced with from getting there right now?
Yeah, see, the beauty about sales and a human conversation, sales, people have this all screwed up. Sales is not about being a smooth talker. It's about being a master listener.
Yeah.
In a sales conversation, I don't even have to tell you what your problems and pain are. I can ask you.
And you'll tell me.
I say, Lewis, what are you struggling with right now? What's the most frustrating thing you're experiencing? Where are you losing time? Where do you feel like you're underperforming? Where is your team not executing?
Right.
Literally, I don't have to say a thing. You say it. But if you're talking, you're also buying.
Right.
The more you're talking, the more likely you are to buy.
Wow.
And I don't do anything. I ask questions. Now, in copywriting, it's a little bit different because there's not a dialogue. So I have to create the dialogue on the page as if we were talking, which means I have to understand what's going on in their mind without being able to ask. So sales is way easier. Marketing, you actually have to or copywriting, you have to get really good and you have to really dial this in, but it's still not that hard. Describe their life, describe a day in their life as it exists in the absence of your solution.
Yes.
That's the pain. And then by the way, when you get to the payoffs, all you do is the inverse of that. So pain and payoffs are inverse. So pain is I'm spending countless hours, posting stuff on social media and nobody's watching. Payoff is my content creation process is streamlined and my audience grows effortly.
Sounds good.
It's the same thing, just turning it inside out.
Yes.
But in sales, again, I just ask. I just go, Lewis, where do you want to be? What are you struggling with? How does that make you feel? If I could show you a way to go from where you're at to where you want to be, is that something you'd be interested in? What are they going to say? Yes, of course. They just spent however much time telling you, I want this, I have this, and you say, if I could show you how to get there, would you be interested in that?
Yes.
The answer is yes. I already told you this, that their conversation. So it's not, and once they say that, I haven't even said anything about my widget. My widget is insignificant. It's just a vehicle to get them from here to there. Now, please don't hear what I'm not saying. Don't build a crappy widget.
Right.
Build a freaking awesome widget.
Right.
Find your uniqueness. You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. Build something amazing. Do good work. I'm just saying that's not why people buy.
Right.
So do both. You should create a great product and create great marketing.
Yes.
And create great selling. And most of all, it's about being service-centered on what's really going to help them.
Service-centered in your side hustle and in sales. The challenge is when someone might hear this, they might be saying, this sounds like a lot to do. Learning marketing, learning personal branding. All I want to do is do my thing, and I just hope people like it and buy it. But it's hard to scale and grow your side hustle into a business, into a profitable 7-8 figure business without doing marketing and sales. You can't just make a product. It's like the starving musician who wishes that someone would just recognize them at home playing the guitar in their basement, that they're the greatest in the world. No one's going to come find you unless you're putting yourself out into the world consistently. Marketing, promoting, and selling yourself, whether that's your talent, your skill, your product, your solution. You've got to be willing to push yourself out there if you want to grow.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. Welcome to the club. Success is not easy. That's why not everybody does it. Greatness is not easy. That's why most people never get there. Anything worth achieving is worth working for.
Yes.
But if this is your art, okay, if your craft is your art, very much at Brand Builders Group, I think AJ and I would consider this our craft. We have spent our life understanding the psychology of influence and helping people become more influential and helping them build their own influence, personal, call it personal brand. So this is our art. It's our craft. When we create the 4Fs and the content diamond and the brand DNA helix and all these things the 15 Ps, all these frameworks, it's our art. It is our craft. And here's what artists don't understand. Marketing is art. Marketing is part of your art. There is the creation part, which is art, but marketing is art. Marketing is an art form. Sales, when done right, is an art form.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
It is beautiful to sit down and have a conversation with somebody where you go, man, I feel like I just talked to a therapist and I'm signing up for your thing, right? It's not, oh my gosh, what you don't want people to feel like is, oh my gosh, I just got beat down by a used car salesman type. Not all used car salesmen are this way. They just get the bad rap. But
you don't want buyer's remorse.
Yeah. You don't want to win the sale and lose the relationship.
Yes.
Win the relationship always, even if you have to lose the sale.
Yeah, that's good.
But if you win the relationship, you serve the person, you provide value, teach, they will buy from you. You don't even have to sell. They will buy.
Yes. And for those that don't know, Rory is my secret weapon when it comes to scaling my personal brand and really around the strategy of influence, personal brand, and messaging with everything. For the last few years, I've worked with Rory and his team on how do we really scale School of Greatness, scale my personal brand, scale the team, scale the messaging, scale the content, the courses, the programs. How do we scale it and monetize it all better? And so I've done many 2-day sessions with you. I think 3 or 4 now, 2-day intensive workshop sessions on a lot of these things that you teach your clients at Brand Builders Group. And so if anyone's interested in launching a New York Times bestseller, a viral TED Talk, launching a course, and just getting their ideas out of their head with some clarity and focus and a process on how to scale their personal brand over time, along with many other things that you guys do. If you're thinking of doing that and you want to build following, you want to create content, then make sure you check out what Rory is up to. Your team is offering a free call for anyone that wants to go there. If you go to lewishowes.com/brandcall, people will get on a free call and they're going to ask you these things. What are your goals? What are your challenges? You're going to see this.
What we're going to ask.
You're going to see this in action by them trying to see how can they help you? How can they support you? Maybe there's something they can support you with, maybe not. But they want to support you in making sure that even just getting on this free call will support you in getting clarity on what you want, whether you work with them or not. So if you are interested in having greater impact in the world, greater influence, you want to earn more around your skill set, your uniqueness, and you want it to become more effortless in the act of consistently showing up on a daily basis with your business or brand or side hustle, go to lewishowes.com/brand call. You'll see a little video with us. It'll be a free call you can sign up for. Check it out. Rory, anything else you want to add here to bring this to a close for people who are on the mission and the path of building a side hustle, potentially turning it into a bigger personal brand and business for themselves?
Yeah, well, just on the thing of the free call, number one, I would say we do have several clients at this very moment on the New York Times bestseller list, which is cool.
Yeah.
But most of the clients we work with are not at that level.
Yes.
97% of the clients we work with are not Lewis Howes.
They're getting started.
They are just getting started. They are in the beginning stages, intermediate stages, like in more that intermediate exploration. We do have a client also that has a viral TED Talk that's going viral right now. So,
that's right.
But it's most of the people are just, I'm trying to build my side hustle. I'm trying to make impact. I'm trying to help grow my business.
Yeah.
I think we can help you. And we won't, I want to say to them the same thing I would end this on. Don't sell someone something they don't need. And we won't. Like, if you do the call and we don't think we can help you, we will be the first to tell you. Because this is what we believe. We're playing the long game.
Right.
And I know that your sales managers, some of your sales managers probably would never say that, and I may never get hired to do a corporate sales training again, but this is what we believe. Don't sell someone something they don't need.
Yeah.
Put their need first. And we've done that, and it's worked out really freaking well for us.
Yeah.
And we're very young, and we're not the richest people in the world, but man, we feel so lucky, and to get to work with people for you to even say that, we get to be on the inner workings of your strategy and stuff, it's just an honor. So serve
fun,
people.
Man. Serve people. You should always win the relationship, even if you lose the sale, something that you talk about.
Bada bing.
There is no fear when the mission to serve is clear. It's hard to be nervous when your heart's on service. All these things that Rory says always rings true to me. So, Rory, appreciate you. Make sure you guys check out lewishowes.com/brand call. Even if you're just getting on a call, maybe it's not for you, but see what the process is like for you to implement this for yourself. But if you're looking to build your personal brand, I guarantee he's got a lot of great stuff for you. So check it out. It's the reason I keep coming back to you every year for some strategy on how can we continue to grow and scale and have more clarity around the next stages of our personal brand. So make sure you check out the call, lewishowes.com/brand call. Rory, appreciate you, man. Let me know some of your biggest takeaways in the comments below, and make sure to share this with someone you think needs to hear it, and stick around for more inspiring content coming up right now. Why is personal branding still such an important thing that everyone should be thinking about? Whether you're entrepreneur, freelancer, employee, why is this important for everyone, or is it not important for people to build their personal brand?
I mean, it's huge. It's the future, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why we got in this space, is just look at how your life has changed, as the School of Greatness has grown. And I think here's something that's fascinating about the world today, is that I think in many ways people are aspiring more for influence than they are for income.
Why is that?
It's because you can't buy influence. Right, like you in some ways you can
fake buy it.
You can fake buy it.
Like likes and followers.
Yeah.
But not real true influence is by how you create something in the world, or the way people perceive you, or that people really want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, it's the difference between a dictator can force things to happen, but somebody who has influence makes things happen. Oprah has influence. She says something and people respond.
Yeah.
That's different than I forced the law to pass, or I'm your boss and you must do this. And I think, there's so many ways to make money, and I just think there's a big movement in the world where it's like, we don't need more money. What we need is less stress. We need less complexity. We need more freedom. We need more peace. We need to feel more aligned with our purpose. Doesn't mean we don't want money, but like at Brand Builders, it's interesting because we say that our audience is mission-driven messengers. It's people like you. I mean, I think it is no accident that we started working with you so closely, because It's not that money isn't important. It's just that money isn't the most important thing. So we want to make money. The mission, it takes money to finance the mission, but at the end of the day, the message is more important than the money.
I wonder if you ask people the question, if they could have all the income in the world and no influence, and they couldn't use the money to get any attention or influence, or all the influence in the world, but no money, and they couldn't use the influence to gain money.
Which would you choose?
Which would you choose?
I mean, that'd be a good question to put on Insta or something as a survey. Maybe people could leave a comment on the down on the blog for this.
We'll do that. Send me a DM also of your reply, what you would do. But we'll share that out there.
But I would say this, a lot of our clients. So our clients typically fit into two different categories. It's people who are sometimes, and I say this, politely, they're Twitter rich and dollar broke, as we say. They have a big following and they don't have any money.
They don't know how to monetize.
They don't know how to monetize it. So we're helping those people.
And then there's people who have all the money in the world, but no one knows who they are.
Nobody knows who they are.
And they're trying to build a following, and that's so hard for them, right?
And it's different. Building a following is different than building a business. There's some commonalities, but again, it's like, I think people with money, what they really are aspiring for is influence.
Why?
Because I think it's just because they want to make a difference in the world, and you keep score at some point in your life, like by how much money you have.
Right.
But then over time, you realize that
it's not fulfilling me anymore.
It's not fulfilling. It's not like once you get past a certain threshold, it's
$10 million in the bank or $1 million. I mean,
it depends on who you are, but it can be. I mean, for some people, it can be $100,000 a year, and it's just like there's nothing more I aspire to have, but there is always more that I aspire to be. There is more that I aspire to impact and to influence and to create in the world. And that is what is available through a personal brand. And people go, I don't care to be the richest person in the world, but man, I would love to have the kind of impact that Mother Teresa has, and Gandhi and Martin Luther King, and even, you see the modern business moguls. You mentioned Tim Ferriss and Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins. Like, those guys all make plenty of money, but they're not the richest people in the world, but they've made a tremendous impact. And I think that is the currency of the day, that influence and impact has become more in pursuit than just income by itself.
Because a lot of people are able to make the money, but after that, they need something else.
Then what?
You got to do something else with your life, a purpose. And impacting people is usually the way to have that purpose.
And so many people, the generation before us, our parents and things, like so many people that worked hard to give us the things they never had, which was noble in many ways and wonderful, but it also taught us that many of us looked ahead and we saw people who were not happy, and they were trading happiness for prosperity per se, or
safety,
for income,
home, everything.
Yeah, and the younger generation has said, screw that. I don't care. I don't need to own a home. I don't need to even have a permanent residence. Like, I'll go travel the world and couch surf and Airbnb, and I don't need to have a car. Like, I'll share a car with somebody. But the thing that everybody across every generation has in common is, I want my life to count for something.
I
want to matter. And I think, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I was just having this conversation with a client yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about how self-actualization is like the highest thing, right? Is like, I have become all that I can be. But I think there's a higher level than that, and it's not self-actualization, it's others' actualization. Is that even when you become your highest self, which I think is a very valuable pursuit, there's still an emptiness in self-achievement. We quickly realize, and just to use myself as an example in some realm, right? As like, I had the dream to become a world champion public speaker, and I basically did that. I came in second.
You want to be a New York Times bestselling author.
New York Times bestselling author. Wanted to
build an 8-figure business.
Build an 8-figure company. Like the next thing. And it started when I was young. It was my first thing was I wanted to be a black belt, and then I wanted to be valedictorian, and I wanted to get a full ride scholarship. And my life was this sequential thing. And you realize, even being a New York Times bestselling author, as wonderful as it is, and it's a worthwhile pursuit, the deep satisfaction that comes from that lasts for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because what you really realize is it's like, I don't want to be on a bestseller list. I want people to read my book and have it change their life for years and years and years and years, and have many, many people do that.
Yeah.
And so it's really others actualization. And the vehicle of personal branding and the tools of digital media have made that more available and accessible than ever before.
So why are there so many people Twitter rich but money poor then? Why have people who have started building a following been unable to monetize their personal brand? And what are the 5 ways to start monetizing your brand?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So at the other end of the spectrum, right, is the Twitter rich and dollar broke, so to speak. And these are people who have developed influence, and now it's like, gosh, I would love for it to become my full-time job. Like I would love to have the thing I love become my full-time job.
Yeah.
And that is something that is available now, but it's like, well, how do you do that? And there's a big difference again between growing a following and growing an income. So you still need to learn the skills of making money. It's a skill. It's a talent.
It is.
And to answer your question directly, there are 5 ways that we talk about how to make money. And so when we're working with a client, we're gonna lay out these 5 ways. These are 5 primary ways. We call them the paids. 5 ways to get paid, basically, to take a pile of followers or a pile of influence,
have them give you money,
and have that turn into money in your bank account.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what PAIDS is an acronym, right?
Yeah.
PAIDS. So the P stands for product. Product. So you can take a bunch of people and you can sell them a product, a physical good.
Like a book.
Like a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a book would be a product. But I would say this, personal branding is not limited to just people who do information marketing. And I think that's what's fascinating. About half of the clients we're working with at Brand Builders Group are now executives, entrepreneurs, CEOs, who never care to sell a video course or get paid to do a speech. They're just trying to bring awareness, like Gary Vee. Gary Vee doesn't actually sell video courses and stuff. No. He brings awareness to the different ventures he's involved in. Anyways, your company might have water. Dave Asprey's a good example of this, right? Like the bulletproof coffee. So it could be a food item. Sarah Blakely would be a good example of this with Spanx, right? Like her primary business model is still a physical product. She's got a personal brand that draws attention to that. Yeah. So physical product.
Those are products.
And by the way, there's no one of these 5 that are better than the other. They all have advantages and they all have disadvantages.
Sure.
Okay, so number 2 is ads and affiliates.
Yeah.
Ads and affiliates. This is really fascinating, which is that you can monetize your audience without ever selling anything to your audience.
Without ever having to create a product, a physical good, deal with shipping, deal with customer support, returns.
Content creation.
Product managers.
Yeah.
Never having to deal with any of that.
Yes.
And what are some examples of businesses that do that really well based off of a personal brand?
Yeah, so, well, I think the School of Greatness is one. I don't know how much you feel comfortable sharing your personal journey. Maybe we can talk about that.
Sure.
About the work that we've done together over the last 18 months. When you came to us originally, you had lots of these.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, probably. You had like all of these.
Yeah.
And one of the problems is that when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results.
Yeah.
And so we help people figure out what we call their primary business model. And then we go, it is that which everything else should be in support of that thing. And in your case, we realized that actually your long-term primary business model is ads and affiliates. It's the podcast itself. It's the thing that you once thought of as just a traffic source that has actually become the main business model.
Right.
So it's the ads, right? It's the sponsors of the show who make the show possible.
We'll tell the rest of that story after we do the other.
Okay,
three.
yeah. So we'll come back. But podcasts would be a good example of that, and affiliates, right? Like you have a following, you can sell other people's products, and they're paying you, some percentage. Right. The difference between ads and affiliates, by the way, is an ad is not a pay for performance. It's just a pay for impression, right? Like for so many impressions, you're going to be in front of this many people.
I'm going to give you this much money if you post this on your social media.
This
I'm going
many
to give
times.
you this much money if you share it on your podcast. I'm going to, whatever it may be.
Exactly, right.
Based on the impressions, based on a calculation that you come up with, or that's industry standard for that thing.
Yeah, and it could be your whole platform. It could include your newsletter and your social and your podcast or whatever. Affiliates is a pay for result.
Yeah, you get a sale, I give you a commission.
Yep.
A lot of people do this with Amazon on books.
You can do that with,
linking with books, you get a commission from Amazon, Audible. You see that all the time from people.
All the time.
Okay, so products, ads, and affiliates. What's the third way?
So the I is information.
Yeah.
This is the one that I think historically people have associated personal branding with, because there's some elements of personal branding that sort of spun out of information marketing or even digital marketing. So this is the classic video course, membership site, assessments, certifications. These are information-based products. Basically, it's intellectual property delivered in a digital medium.
Yeah.
On
ebooks.
Ebooks would be a great example of this. And in the last in episode, was it 670? 670, where we actually talked about dares. Mm-hmm. We look for things that are digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable.
Yep.
The information line lends itself well to some of those dares.
Yeah.
So video courses and things like that.
Information
but also assessments and certifications are less common. But we have some friends that do assessments really well, and it's like that is their main thing.
Got it. Okay. And the D?
D is for deals. Deals.
It's like being an agent.
So it's a third party deal that somebody is paying you, and it typically includes both an element that is not for performance in advance, and it usually includes a long tail royalty feature. Okay. So a book deal, a brand deal, a movie deal, a TV deal. Some of the clients that we work with at Brand Builders Group are musicians, and we're actually helping them create other ancillary revenue streams, but their primary business model is their music deal, like their publishing deal. Right. So there's a third party that's usually like a distributor who's paying you a guarantee regardless of performance plus a royalty.
Got it.
This is why licensing deals would also fall into this, which is one of the most underutilized forms of IP, which is people spend all this time creating their IP and they sell it to their audience, and they never think about going, what corporation would just license this content from me? And so those are brand deals. But traditional book publishing.
So like Darren Prince, would he be an example as deals because he's an agent for all these athletes in Hollywood?
Yeah, so Darren Prince, so you met him when you had Rodman on the show, right?
I just had lunch with him yesterday too.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, so I love Darren.
Yeah.
So he's a mutual friend. He's a client of ours, right? So Darren does deals. Yeah. He's on the agent side of it. So when you do a deal, there's usually like three parties. There's usually like the publisher, the agent, and the talent.
Yeah, the brand or the company that's giving you money to the talent.
The publisher. Right, yeah, or it could be a brand, or a distributor. Yeah. Then you have the agent, which would be like a literary agent or a speaking agent. Darren is kind of like an all-encompassing agent, like a manager. Yeah. And then the talent, like Dennis Rodman and
Hulk Hogan.
He works with several, Magic Johnson. He works with several celebrities that he manages. But he is also an author now, right? So he is also getting so he's also selling a physical product, and the difference, by the way, a book that you self-publish would be product, but a book that you traditionally publish would be a deal.
Interesting.
And they're different, and they have a different set of considerations. right? So when you get a New York publishing deal, as you well know, there's a different set of expectations and things that come with it, but also great benefits.
Exactly. Okay, so deals, and the last one, the S.
Okay, last but not least is services.
Services. So would that be coaching?
Yeah, it's basically
services?
speaking, coaching, consulting, training.
Okay.
Now, for anyone that's listening that is going, I hate my job, I want to quit, and I want to pursue my personal brand, usually when those people come work with us, we point them towards services in the short term because services are typically the fastest path to cash.
It's easy to sell, go on Instagram and say, hey, I'm doing coaching or I'm offering consulting. Send me an email, let's jump on a call if you're interested.
Literally,
and you get a $1,000 client, a $5,000 client, whatever it may be.
Today, I mean, you could say, hey, put out some piece of content, DM me for a free call. You do the call this afternoon, Venmo me some money, and we do our first consulting or whatever, like whatever it is. It's just but any service, the problem with services is that it's a time for money exchange.
Time consuming.
So it's the most monetizable in the short term with the least amount of barriers to entry and the least resistance, but it's the least scalable long term. It has the least number of the dares, digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable.
Right.
It's not digital, it's not automated, it can sometimes be recurring, it's not evergreen, and it's not scalable at all. Your calendar is your inventory.
Unless you're now hiring and training other consultants to do the coaching consulting for you, there's a scalability effect, but you can't scale yourself.
True, which is what Brand Builders Group does, right? So our team, we have certified personal brand strategists who basically take our frameworks and they run people through the process.
And if they want you, they pay a premium.
They do. Or they come to a group, like an event, like one of our little intensive boot camps.
So this would be, services would be speaking, coaching, consulting, training, masterminds.
Masterminds would be
group coaching.
Yep, I would call a mastermind is still a time for money exchange. There's some limit to the scalability.
Would it be workshops too? Same thing?
Yeah, like a public seminar would still fit into this. Now, to some extent, you can scale them quite far, right? Like, when I first started speaking, my first speaking engagement, I got $50. Right? My fee today is much higher. There's people yet even still with speaking fees that are much higher than mine. So you can get $100,000 to go stand on stage for an hour. That's fairly scalable.
Yeah.
I mean, but you still only have so many days a year.
So many days, so many hours that you can get paid for.
So many hours.
Yeah.
And now, seminars are a little more scalable. I mean,
someone like John Gordon is a guy who he's making millions every year just by speaking.
Yeah, John Gordon, Jason Dorsey, they
do it full time.
Jay Bear, that Carrie Loren, Sally Hogshead. These are people that are making multi-seven figures or close to,
or at least
just in keynote fees.
Then they have their books.
Then you've got books, and then they may have some of these other things.
Training, consulting, or coaching.
But this is where the problem also comes. Diluted focus gets diluted results.
And so this is when I came to you. So for people listening on episode 670, which was really powerful, I came to Rory about a year and a half ago? 18?
Yeah, it was about 18 months ago. Maybe.
18 months ago, I came to Rory because I was doing all these, I think. I wasn't doing software. Where would software be under here?
So software would probably sit either under information or maybe product, depending on some of the features.
So I guess I didn't have software, but I had membership site, courses, books, audio books.
Self-published books,
live events,
ebooks,
mastermind, one-on-one coaching,
and the podcast, and
sponsorships, affiliates, speaking. I was doing it all. Video courses, deals. I was doing everything, and we were doing great. But I remember feeling like I started looking out into the future, and I was like, I don't know how to get the financial numbers I want to get to by doing all this, unless I build a department and a team under each thing that we were doing so we could scale it all bigger. Because I was realizing my time and energy was limited by trying to do everything at the best level. So we were doing everything at an 80% level.
Right.
And that was frustrating me. I was like, but I'm not like as best as I could be. I'm not living at the highest quality because my energy was diluted, like you mentioned. So I reached out to you, And I said, I just feel like Rory will be able to help me. I don't know why.
Which is
because
funny.
You weren't doing any of this before.
Well, no. And we hadn't talked in like at least a year.
I don't know why I thought of it. So I remember calling you and I was just like, hey, I want to come to Nashville and meet because I think you could help me gain clarity.
Mm-hmm. In fact, we were just in the process of exiting our former business, which did sales coaching. Like we were coaching salespeople one-on-one. This wasn't even on the radar.
No.
And then all of a sudden, Lewis Howes calls me and says, hey, can I spend some time with you?
Yeah, and we came down, was it a day and a half, 2 days or something?
Yeah, it was like 2 days. Well, you've been for 3 separate 2-day sessions plus other stuff that
The first time was like a 2-day thing, and we just mapped out the vision, the brand identity, the vision, figuring out what is my uniqueness. We talked about this in the last podcast. Yeah. And it's like really getting clarity on what your uniqueness is as a personal brand.
That's step one.
Yeah, and your vision for your business and your mission and everything moving forward.
Yeah.
Because I felt like we were doing a lot really well, but I didn't know how I was going to take it all to the next level. And so I was working hard for 10 years and it was growing and everything was great and we were creating new products and opportunities and revenue streams, but it didn't seem clear for the future. I didn't see the clear path. And for me, I'm really good at helping others with a clear vision, and I've always been good with myself of having a clear vision. And it was the first time I wasn't clear. And that was a wake-up call where I was like, I need someone else to help see it from a different perspective. So we came to you. Matt was there too, right?
Matt was there, yeah.
Yeah, Matt was there. And we mapped out.
Matt was there the first time and the third time.
Yeah.
He bailed the second time.
Yeah, it was the keynote one, right?
Yeah, on the keynote one, yeah.
And so we came to you and we mapped out all of the pays. Didn't we do that? We mapped out all the pays.
Yep, we looked at them we took you through something we call the revenue assessment.
Yep.
We gridded them all out.
To figure out what your business model is based on revenue.
Based on actual data, right?
And so based on the data of we mapped out all of our revenue streams, and I think courses.
At that time, video courses was your number one revenue stream.
So we were a video course company.
Yet
based on revenue.
It was probably the furthest disconnected from your personal uniqueness and your long-term vision and your mission.
Yeah. And so that's why I think it was gaining that clarity was so powerful for me. It was so eye-opening. And we had, so we had products, we had deals, we had information, we had services, we had a mastermind, and the least revenue generating source was the podcast, was affiliates and ads, right? Sponsorships. Mm-hmm. And we had this kind of aha moment where it was like, wow, really the podcast is aligned to your mission of impacting 100 million people a week. It's aligned to what you want to do of helping transform the world. And yet it's the thing you're kind of spending the least amount of time focused on. So we need to figure out how we're going to transition and switch it to being number one as opposed to the bottom.
Right.
And that was 18 months ago.
Right.
And it's been this transition. And you said to me, what'd you say then? You were like, this doesn't have to change right now where you let go of all these revenue streams now, but in the future sometime, this will need to switch.
Yeah, this is the analogy that we use. It's like launching a rocket ship, right? So when you launch a rocket ship, you have it takes everything. To launch a personal brand, to just make enough money to pay the bills, it's just in some ways, you're doing whatever you can do to get the thing off the ground. But then over the course of time, you should be getting clearer and clearer about where you're going, and those side rockets, they have to fall off. And this is the tough decision that you've been willing to make that most people are not, which is the hard part is not going from bad to good. The hard part is leaving behind good to go chase greatness.
So hard.
And you were literally hitting Sheehan's wall. So if y'all didn't, you go back and listen to the episode 670 where we talk about Sheehan's wall. You were hitting Sheehan's wall not from a messaging perspective as much, but you were from a revenue perspective. Your team was fragmented and fractionalized and spread thin. And when we created that focus, focus is power, right? I talk about this in the Take the Stairs book, that if you put a magnifying glass between the sun and a piece of paper, the piece of paper catches on fire because focus, literally, scientifically, focus is power. If you take the magnifying glass away, nothing happens. Yeah. That is very, very much the description of how most people's revenue streams are. Is they and it's not like you weren't making money. You were making more money than you'd ever made in your life.
Right.
But
I wasn't breaking through the wall. It wasn't all aligning to my vision 100%. And I felt like I couldn't see a clear path to the future. And that was a challenge. So it wasn't like life wasn't bad or hard. It was just like, but if I want to continue to grow and make the biggest contribution for my life and have more mission and purpose, I needed clarity.
Yeah, and it's first being clear on your dream.
Yeah.
And then it is having the courage to chase it.
And let go of really good things that are already successful, helping people, making money, supporting my team, paying for a lifestyle, all that.
And it's interesting, in Christianity, this is kind of a random parallel, but I'm a Jesus freak. There's a concept that is called sanctification, and that it's like, when you become a Christ follower, that's not the end, that's the beginning. Even though like that day is when you go to heaven, so that's done, like heaven is a done deal.
Yeah.
But then you go through, it begins a process of sanctification, which is a gradual cleansing, like a steady improvement, not to earn your way to heaven, so it's not the perfect parallel, but because you're grateful for what you have. Similarly here, when you're clear on this vision, the clearer you are on your vision, your long-term vision, the more obvious it becomes what short-term sacrifices need to be made.
Wow.
And inversely, the amount of our endurance is directly proportionate to the clarity of our vision. So if I can see something clearly, something that I want, something that matters to me, something that I believe in, something that I feel called to, like in your case, it's a calling. Mm-hmm. As you see that more clearly, then there is a strong connection to the decisions and the choices and the sacrifices that must be made today to forward you towards that vision. So it creates a context for action and discipline to take place. And your discipline engages automatically as a byproduct of the vision.
Yeah.
But if you have a cloudy vision, or if you have too much stuff going on, or you have a clear vision but you don't spend any time thinking about it, then there is at best a convoluted connection to how the sacrifices and the choices and the decisions that need to be made today forward you towards something you care about, and so you get stuck.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're lazy, it's not because you struggle from a lack of discipline. Most people think, this is really like take the stairs.
It's not because you don't work hard.
It's not because you're not working hard. And this is really like right out of Take the Stairs, is that most people think they struggle with a lack of discipline. They're not struggling as much from a lack of discipline as they're struggling from a lack of vision. And so you have to get clear on that vision first, and then you have to have the courage to chase it.
Yeah.
And that is freaking hard, especially when you're doing great, especially when you're already, like in your case, you are already a multi-7-figure business. So for most people, it's like, why not just play it safe and
Right.
play it cool? And the answer is because that's not what you're called to.
Ooh, that's good. You're speaking some Jesus talk over here.
It's not what you're called to. And that's why, so brand builders, one of the things that's, I think, also interesting and sort of unique about us, one of the reasons we got into the space, beyond just that you called us randomly at this time in our life where we had this wide open space, and you said, you're the one who told us this is your next business. But everybody, there's a lot of skills needed to build a personal brand. It's creating content, it is social media, it's building funnels, it's copywriting, there's Facebook ads, there's running webinars, there's marketing automation, there's SEO, there's graphic design, there's video editing, right? Those are all things that are, probably skills.
Yeah.
But most of the people who teach them, they teach it, and it's a singular tool in the tool belt. And it's like when you're a hammer, all you see is nails.
Right.
So what we realized is we said there's nobody in the space sitting on top of all that going, how do we coordinate all this crap in a focused direction to serve the person's mission? Not just how do I get more clicks on my ads or get more downloads on my podcast, but how does this all forward to the mission I am called to live?
So how does someone know which things they should be focusing on? Is it step one, get clear on your mission, your vision?
Well, yeah.
And then
I mean, my first thought was, come work with us for 2 days. We'll take you through a process, but we can go through it now a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, how do I know if I'm Twitter rich and money poor, cash poor? Like, so you would say
so let me run you through a few of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So each of these has advantages and disadvantages. For example, products become extremely high margin after break even. Mm-hmm. So like once you've sold your break even point of Spanx, everything beyond that becomes extremely profitable.
Yeah.
But the brand development it takes to get there, the time and the logistical process of manufacturing and distribution and getting it, in the proper places is not an easy feat.
Right.
Okay. So one of the things we look at is what are my strengths, right? So it's like, okay, if I'm good at logistics, I'm good at building a brand, and I'm good at coming up with product ideas, and I'm good at sourcing inventors and people, and manufacturers, maybe products is good.
Right.
But if I'm not good at that, then maybe I should look at something else. The ads and affiliates, here's who this is great for. If you are great at throwing a party, which is you, right? Like
getting people together.
Get people together.
Rallying behind something.
Community, let's all support each other. And if you create community and this is, if you're good at creating a bunch of followers and fans, then it's this could be really great for you because you know how to build an audience. You know how to throw a party. This is one that I realized that I'm not that good at.
Yeah.
Right? I'm much better at creating content and structure and stuff. I'm not one of the cool kids per se. So I think you and I work well together because you know how to throw a party and we know we do a lot of execution on the back end. But so if you're not, if social media drives you nuts, ads and affiliates is probably not the right model for you, right? Because you're not good naturally at building audience. You should go find partners who are good at building an audience.
Sure. And
they're gonna love you because all the stuff you do gives them a freaking headache and stress, and inversely.
Right.
Information. So information is an interesting one. There's a low barrier of entry, which is why there's a lot of people getting into it. But one of the challenges is there's a lot of very mediocre information. And what we're going to encourage people to do, is to create true thought leadership, which means
intellectual property, IP for yourself, for your own ideas.
Yes, except the challenge that we want to hold people to is to advance the thinking of what's already been done, not to regurgitate what is already out there in the space.
For example, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not just saying, here's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but here's actually what's missing.
Yeah, here's from self-actualization to others' actualization.
That could be furthering the conversation that's already out there.
Correct, and some people may disagree with, could disagree with that or whatever, but that's fine. That's thought leadership. It literally means you're spending the time to advance the thinking that has been done, not repackaging and regurgitating, although you can get really far with doing that as well. So in information, generally, are you tech savvy? If you're not tech savvy, you're either going to have to hire or get a great tech team or people, or let it go. Deals is kind of a special one. That's usually once you have a huge platform, or you have to be extraordinarily talented. Extremely talented. Services is kind of a good one. It's low barrier entry, but again, it's not going to probably scale.
Scalable, yeah.
So, but it can get you to a point, right? It can certainly get you free of the job you hate, or create more flexibility in your life, or whatever. And some people, this is how I came up, right? My dream was to be a speaker. Originally, I never knew what entrepreneurship was. Personal branding didn't even exist. I wanted to stand on stage and inspire thousands of people, and so I dedicated my life to that for a decade.
And get paid to do it.
Right? And I still do that a few times a month, but mostly we're helping our clients now become speakers, and I got two little kids, and so I'm not wanting to be on the road as much. That would be a good example of a downside, right? It's it's ironic, I just got inducted into the Professional Speakers Hall of Fame, and more than ever, I'm doing fewer gigs because I got a toddler and a baby at home. So I don't want to be on the road 70 dates a year like, I have been in the past.
Right.
So there's strengths and advantages, and it's like, what is your team and your what do you love doing? What do you not love doing? But part of your uniqueness, we believe, on that last episode, we were talking about your uniqueness.
Finding your uniqueness.
As a message.
Yes.
So that's what that episode is like, your unique message. But we believe that uniqueness also informs your monetization strategy. Like, to use you as a great example, you're great at throwing a party. Look at how the podcast took off, even though it was sort of like an ancillary thing, like it gained all this traction. Imagine what would happen if you went all in. But the reason why people don't usually go all in actually is because of money. Because they're making good money, maybe better than they've ever done, and so it's a risk. It's a real risk to go all in, and there's no guarantee that even when you go all in, you'll make more money.
Right.
But one of the things I love, this is a guy named Craig Valentine. He was one of my mentors and friends, a world champion of public speaking who mentored me early on. Craig shared this story one time with me, and the point of the story was that you have to decide that your dream is not for sale. You have to come to the conclusion that there is no amount of money that someone can pay me to forego the pursuit of what I am called to. And that takes tremendous courage.
And discipline and courage and everything.
And discipline commitment and execution, because it's freaking scary.
Scary to let go of certain things.
And it's not a guarantee that it'll work, but here's what I do believe firmly, is that if you go all in on a goal, and I can think of two great examples where I have done this. I went all in and it didn't work out how I thought.
It did not work out.
It did not work out quite how I thought.
Yeah.
One of them was winning the world championship of public speaking. As everyone knows, you always give me a hard time about. I came in second in the world in the Toastmasters World Championship of public speaking. But that was not my goal. My goal was to come in first. But if
that would have happened,
right? So
you wouldn't be here.
I may not be here. So here's the payoff. When you go all in on something, if it doesn't work out, you have the clarity and the blessing to know that it's because there must be some higher plan for you.
Yeah.
And
you went all in.
And you went all in. You had nothing left. The reason why I didn't go back to do the world championship was because I had nothing left to bring to it. I laid it all on the line. I honestly could not look back and say, gosh, I could have done this better and I could have done this better. In fact, not everyone knows this story. I went to the world championship twice. So I made it to the top 10 the first year and lost. And then but I knew I had more to give. I went back the second year.
You had a whole year to plan.
A whole another year, did it again.
You had the speech nailed. You had the stories, everything.
There's nothing I would change about the speech. The speech could have won. I believe it was good enough to could have won. But here's the thing, it didn't work out. So I go, you know what? At least I know that's probably because there's something better waiting for me. But if you don't go all in, if you don't lay it all on the line and then your dream doesn't come true, you don't know if it's because it wasn't meant to be or because of a much more likely truth that you didn't show up and take the chance. You never took the swing. You never went after it. You never went all in. And so you will never know whether or not you were meant to do it. And sometimes you're not meant to do it. Like the World Championship is a good example. Thinking about it physically, it'd be like walking down your hallway here. By the way, I love your new place.
Thanks.
So it's like if I'm walking down the hallway, I have a clear vision of this door at the end of the hallway. And I get there and that door is locked. But then there is a door to my left that is open that I could not see when I was down here until I went all in. And so, again, this is my spiritual belief, right? As I believe God is leading me in a direction. And sometimes, like if you think about prayers, sometimes when you pray, the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is wait. And sometimes the answer is no, but I've got something better. And that is faith, right? Like that is not even spiritual faith. That's just faith in the trust sense of the word, is to say, I trust my calling, I trust my heart, I'm willing to take a shot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go all in, and if it doesn't work out, I firmly trust that it will lead to something better.
Something greater.
Something greater.
And it put me on a different path that I was meant to go on.
Yeah.
This has happened to me in many areas of my life. I remember I wanted to go to Ohio State to play football.
Yep.
Didn't get an offer. They said I could walk on, but I was like, I don't want to sit the bench for 4 years or 5 years. And so I decided to go to a different school, and I transferred to 3 different schools. And I was a 2-sport All-American and broke a world record. That would have never happened at Ohio State. I got to have all these different experiences and meet people and travel the world and develop myself as an athlete, all these different things. I wanted to go to the NFL. I went to the Arena League, and I got injured, and it didn't work out.
Yeah,
and
that's a perfect. You're a perfect living example of this.
And then I was like, but it led me to.
And it wasn't like you weren't all in on football. You were all in on football.
On everything.
You had no other plan.
Zero backup plan, no other skills. I didn't have any other options. It wasn't like, oh, I have all these talents, and because there's a lot of people who say, I want to do all these things. I have 10 great ideas. I had one idea, one dream. And so it was hard for me to not achieve it and be like, well, now what do I do? Because I have no skills.
Right.
And that was like a self-discovery period, a transition, a reinvention.
That was Sister's
finding
Couch.
identity. Yeah. What's my identity now? It's discovering it's going on that journey of life. Let me go out and develop some new skills and do speaking and salsa dancing and all these different things, which led me to the next thing, which then led me to the podcast.
Which led you here.
Which led me here.
And you have 100 million people.
150 million downloads.
150 million?
Yeah, 150 million.
Gosh, man.
150 million downloads.
That's crazy.
That's not people, but that's 150 million downloads.
Well,
yeah.
my podcast has tens of downloads.
That's great.
It's amazing, right? Like, you would not be here if it weren't for that.
Exactly.
And you had to go all in.
Had to go all in.
If you weren't playing all in, maybe you never get injured.
That's it.
And then maybe you never end up here, right?
Everything.
The blessing is not getting what you want. The blessing is going all in for what you think you want, and being open to the idea that
it may not be for you.
There may be something better for you.
Greater for your purpose, for your life, for your
and
mission.
that, so by the way, that in the Take the Stairs book, that's the perspective principle of faith. It's the 7th of the decisions that the most disciplined people in the world make. It's choosing to believe that what is happening now is somehow for a greater glory later on. An example of this, we use this illustration is a flat tire, right? So if I was driving along and I got a flat tire, I'd probably be, most of us would freak out and be like, oh my gosh, I had this flat tire. And if somebody asked you, inside of today, like what happened today, you'd probably tell them about the flat tire. Like that would be a big deal. But you could choose, if you knew that getting a flat tire saved you from being in a car accident down the road, you would completely think about that differently.
Like, I'm so grateful for the flat tire.
I'm so grateful for the flat tire.
Exactly.
And that is how it is.
I missed my flight, and then the flight goes down. I'm so grateful I missed my flight.
Yeah, we don't, and the thing is absent the ability to see the entire future, we aren't entitled to evaluate the reasons why dreams do or do not work out. The only choice that we have is to trust that if I'm called to it, I'm going to chase after it. Yeah. I'm going to go after it with everything I can, and if it doesn't work out, something better, something more extraordinary will show up in its place.
And that's why for me over the last 18 months when we talked about, okay, you're switching the paids and the opportunities to make money, you're going to be switching them eventually where the podcast is the focus. Sponsorships, ads, affiliates will be the primary business model. I was like, but how am I going to get there? I was like, how am I going to let go of these things? And it's been one thing at a time letting go of. First it was courses, and then last week, we paused the mastermind. We're like, okay.
Have you shared that on the podcast yet?
We haven't shared it yet, but it's like, people have been applying for months to join. Someone has got a 9-figure business emailed me like the day afterwards and was like, I want to join, right? People, there's 2 billionaires that have applied. It's like, there's hundreds of applications where people want to be a part of this thing. that now I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to put a pause for a year and see how it feels, and go all in on the podcast,
And
go all in on this mission, and see what happens. And it's
Yeah. And hold on a second,
yeah.
because we need to back up a little bit, because that's a pretty big bomb to drop on people about stopping the mastermind.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to know a little bit about why that happened and what happened behind the scenes. Because, for those of you that are listening, Lewis and Matt and I, we actually been talking for months about how we could help support the mastermind.
right. Partnering on it.
Partnering on it so that I could help, you and AJ. AJ's my wife, and she's the CEO of Brand Builders. But like our team, how we could come and help carry some of the weight to free you up.
Yeah.
We had this whole plan to be like, okay, how can we support this? Because you love the mastermind.
I love it.
You love the people.
Impact, the growth, everything. It's amazing.
And then we started doing it. So at the summit, I was there, led that one, and then a couple weeks ago, we led another one. And it's so funny. We made the decision.
And it was great.
It was
leading
amazing.
It was amazing. It was like
so
flowing,
fun.
everything, which keeps making me be like second guess.
Maybe we should do it.
No.
And then even the night before you were going to announce it to the mastermind,
We're up till midnight.
You pulled me into the lobby. We're sitting there at midnight, and you were like, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should keep it going.
Keep it going, because the people were like, "This is changing my life. This is amazing. The money's great." Like,
it was amazing. It was amazing.
Experience.
But it's not your calling.
Yeah.
Your calling is to reach 100 million people a week on the podcast.
Yeah, and impact lives and transform lives.
And to impact lives, and for whatever reason, that's what your calling is.
Yeah.
And our job isn't to judge it, our job is to support it. And one of the things that's super powerful is the clearer you are about your calling, the easier it is for people to support you in achieving it.
Yeah.
And you have a shot, like this podcast has a shot to become a monster mainstream, even like more than it is, to grow exponentially beyond where it is. And that is the thing that you're saying and have been saying ever since I've talked to you, ever since you called me and AJ and we sat down with you and Matt in our home. Back then it was in our house.
Right.
It was like the podcast is the thing. And ever since that moment, it's been like a gradual sanctification of going, what do we have to eliminate? Not because we don't like it, not because we don't love the impact, but because I'm called to this one thing. And look, for any of you that are listening, if you've ever gotten anything out of this podcast, if you've ever gotten anything from this show, from any episode, Lewis doesn't need you to buy something from him.
Right.
He needs you to share the episode with everyone.
Right.
He needs you to email blast it to your 50 friends and family, like your Christmas list. He needs you to share it on
Text
social
a
media.
friend.
He needs you to text a friend. Like, we have to get this podcast to 1 million downloads an episode. That's the next real target. And if we can get this podcast to break through that wall, it puts you in a position to literally change the world.
Right.
And to be a voice for our generation, like of influence and interviewing people, and that is what we need, and that's what you need, because that's what your calling is, not because anyone told you that. It's because that's what you feel.
And that's why it's like I felt called to call you 18 months ago to be like, I need some clarity, because every personal brand is going to get a lot of opportunities. Where I could sell toothbrushes, shoes, like we can sell anything.
You can sell anything.
Once you build an audience and you have people that follow you or support you in some type of way, listening, watching, you could really start to sell lots of different things, but you got to figure out what your calling is and start going on that thing. Whether it's a product or book or ads, whatever it is, you got to go all in on it to the point where you know, okay, I've maxed it out.
Right.
Then I can add the mastermind.
Yeah, if you
I can
want,
add
bring
this
it
if I
back.
want. I could do these things.
Right.
But we haven't maxed it out.
You haven't
fully.
taken the shot.
We haven't taken the full swing.
on the podcast.
We haven't. We've been consistent for 7 years almost.
Yeah.
We've been showing
Well,
up
you're
in a
not
big way.
slackers. It's not the school of average.
Yeah,
as
it's
you
not
always
like
say.
it's not like we're barely showing up.
No.
But we haven't fully dedicated every ounce of energy from everyone on the team on one thing.
Which is crazy. Like, what does that look like?
Going all in.
Yeah, so that boggles my mind that you got here without doing that. That's also evidence that suggests that this is the thing, because it's like, who else got their podcast to this size without like going all consuming in on it.
Right.
So it's like, what could it be?
What could it be?
What could it be? So you got to take a shot.
So that's our mission 2020 is going all in on the podcast.
All in the podcast.
Taking a pause in the mastermind. And everything we do has got to support the podcast.
Right.
Like the goal is to write another book that supports the podcast. The goal is to keep doing the Summit of Greatness because it supports the community of the podcast.
It's the community it's the in-person event that supports the podcast.
So it's like, it makes you, when you get clarity on these revenue streams and what your business is and what your mission is, which is what you teach in all the different workshops at Brand Builders, which I want to talk about in a second because we got to wrap up here in a second. When you get clarity on that, then it's easy to say yes and no to things.
It becomes clearer.
Clear. You don't have to say, well, what about this opportunity?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily easier, but it's clearer.
Yeah, you still want to say yes to everything, maybe, but you start to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm no longer doing these things. I'm only doing these things. And that gives you more attention, more focus on the one thing, which Papasan and Keller talk about is like the book, The One Thing.
The One Thing, yep.
How it supports everything else when you do the one thing.
Great, guys.
So what can someone do right now if they've got a personal brand, they want to build a personal brand? You've got, I think, 9 different workshops and sessions that help you gain clarity on your brand identity, your focus. Break us down really quick so people can go to you to get this clarity and support like I have in 3 different workshops I've done with you.
Yeah, so Brand Builders Group, what do? We help mission-driven messengers build and monetize their personal brand.
Right.
And I will say this too, for some of you listening, the best way for you to monetize your personal brand is not to create a course and a book and become a speaker. It's to take your personal brand and direct all those people to the thing you're already doing that is making money, right? To your network marketing business, to your tech startup, to your financial advisory firm, to your accounting services, to your real estate. Like that's always the easiest
your
thing
fitness
to
coaching,
do,
whatever
right?
it is, yeah.
If you love the thing you're doing, then just use it as a multiplier to drive attention to that. We're big fans of that. Like we don't think everybody should become a speaker, and it's not like we have one formula.
Right.
But so we have 9 different 2-day experiences on all different components of this. And we also do one-on-one coaching as a part of that. So we kind of like have events, and then we kind of supplement and
accountability and coaching along the way.
Along the way, just where people can have a strategist they talk to every single month to keep them on track. And then we have the events where myself and AJ and our strategists are in person, and they're smaller. They're typically like 20, 30 people. Yeah. They're boot camps.
Yeah. Intensive trainings, boot camps, getting clarity on the thing you need to work on.
Yeah, and we're going through these frameworks, like a few of them we've shared here, and then we're taking you through exercises. It's not like sit and learn. It's a work. You're doing work on the spot, and the idea is that you leave with stuff done. But
you've got one on like crafting your perfect keynote, on podcasting, on...
Yeah, so we have, phase 1 is called brand identification, finding your uniqueness, which we talked a lot about that on episode 670.
Yeah, which is what I did first and gave me the clarity to be here now.
Yep. The second one, phase 2, is what we call creating your revenue engine. So that's like a lot of the monetization components. We've touched into that today.
Yeah.
We have one, phase 3 is called high traffic strategies. So that's like, okay, now that it's built, now that the house is built, how do I get more people to hear about it?
Yeah.
So that's, where you get into more like the deep dive into SEO and Facebook ads and affiliate launches and book launches and big time stuff. But that's Domino 86, and people often start there, and that's why their whole thing explodes, because they're working on Domino 86 because they saw a webinar for it, and it's like you need to go. You're spending money in the wrong places.
Yeah.
But then we have World Class Keynote Craft, which you came through.
Yeah, it was great.
So that was working on your keynote, the psychology of why people laugh and helping you like get your signature stories down.
How to get standing ovations, how to captivate people, everything. Yeah.
And then we have one called Full Keynote Calendar, which is the business of speaking. So Keynote Craft is the art of speaking, but Full Keynote Calendar is how to get booked as a speaker, how to negotiate fees, how to set your fees, how does that profession work?
Yeah.
We have one called Bestseller Launch Plan, which is specifically for launching a book or a course or a company, but like what are the steps to actually execute a launch?
Right.
And then you went through captivating content was the other one.
Yeah.
We sometimes call it bestseller book outline, which is creating your body of work.
Right.
What is going to be the content of the book or of the course? So we've got...
Which has got like where you help me create my own intellectual property and my own thought leadership.
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
Coming up with frameworks and diagrams and stuff.
And you're one of the best people that I've met that teaches strategy at a high level to make it simple for someone like me to go execute on and gain clarity. And that's why I love working with you. And we have, anyone listening right now can get a free call with a brand strategist on your team if they want, right?
And that's what we love to do is we love to actually talk to you. We want to hear your story. And we have a team of people to actually that want to hear your vision and get on the phone with you.
Yeah.
And so we have a special link for you set up for your audience, right?
Yeah, lewishowes.com/brand call. So if you go to that link right now, you'll see a little video of me and Rory, and then a little form to fill out to schedule a time to talk to see how someone on your team can help them.
We may or may not be able to help too.
Right. You may not be ready for it.
You may not be ready for it.
Yeah.
I would say this though, that we work with some pretty big name people like yourself. There's other
celebrities and influencers,
semi-celebrity or celebrities, some big musicians and stuff. But we also work with the person that's just barely beginning, like doesn't have a ton of money. And so, our program is designed to help you grow you to the next level.
Yeah.
So, if you feel called to build a personal brand, I feel pretty confident that we can help, and we're one of the best in the world. And let's just talk about it. And if we're not, we'll tell you.
Exactly. Yeah. So go to the link lewishowes.com/brand call. Schedule a call ASAP. I'm telling you, just getting on the phone with the people on your team, they're gonna ask you questions to see where you're at, just to give you clarity. Whether you sign up with something you guys have to offer or not, they're gonna help you gain more clarity just from the free call.
Totally, yeah. We walk you through a little framework on the call to help you figure out your vision, yeah.
So it's gonna be worth it for the call alone. Schedule the call, lewishowes.com/brand call, and go there right now. Rory, every time I'm with you, we learn a lot, we connect a lot.
I got one more thing. I got one more thing we have to share.
Go ahead.
On the topic of monetization, right? Again, we are all about making money. Like we don't dislike money. Like we're good at making money. We believe in helping people make money. But at the end of the day, it's about the message, and it's also about the messenger. And my pastor, Kevin Queen, shared something a couple weeks ago that really just like blew me away. And I think it's important to understand that when you talk about making money, there's like a business side of it. It's processes and systems and structure and clarity and strategy. But there's also a personal side of it. There's a big heart side of it. And here's what Kevin said. He said, make sure your influence doesn't grow wider than your character runs deep.
Yeah, I love this.
Make sure your influence doesn't grow wider than your character runs deep.
What's that mean?
It means that if you're going to serve an audience, make sure that you are developing yourself, that you are on your own pursuit of greatness and getting better and integrity and living out what you're actually teaching people to do or promoting to do. Is kind of like having a life that the more people know you, and if they could see every private moment, or if they could hear every private thought, if they could actually hear your thinking, that they would be more impressed with who you are.
That's crazy.
And it's a high level to pursue to. But the reason it also matters is because if it should happen that your influence grows faster than your character, then you run into problems. You have all sorts of stuff that comes, all sorts of issues and
personal
ego
problems,
and personal problems, press,
whatever.
media, physical health. And so you have to be developing yourself. And I think that's one of the things I love about the School of Greatness podcast. It's just like, this is a place that people can come to develop their character, to keep growing in that pursuit. And that's why they need to listen, they need to stay here, and they need to share it. Because we need to get to 100 million downloads. We need to get to 1 million downloads in an episode.
That's the key. Well, if you guys haven't checked out Rory's stuff, he's got a couple of great books. This one is a game changer, Procrastinate on Purpose, really about being more productive and multiplying your time. Take the Stairs, also a classic, New York Times bestseller. But get on the brand call, lewishouse.com/brand call. Sign up right now. Let me know if you signed up. Take a screenshot after you registered for a call. Let me know so I can support you and keep you inspired. A lot of people have gone through this from the School of Greatness community over the last year.
Yeah, a bunch of people.
When we did
worked
this
with.
since episode 670, I think hundreds of people have gone on calls, and so many of them I've seen develop their brand over time and really grow in an amazing strategic, processed way that you guys deliver and execute beautifully. So
thank you.
Make sure you guys sign up for it. You can check out Rory on Instagram, social media,
yes.
website. You can check it all out. But we have all the information at lewishouse.com/brand call, and the show notes for this episode. We'll have it all linked up there. So Rory, you're the man. Love you. Thank you.
I love you, brother.
Appreciate it. Go build your brand. Change the world.
The human brain is not designed for success. The human brain is designed for survival. Survival is about conserving energy. Success is the opposite. Success is about expending energy, doing things that are uncomfortable. If you do this, if you struggle with procrastination, if you've made bad choices, it doesn't mean you're doomed for failure. It actually means